Welcome to Cerner's live experience at HIMSS 2019 in Orlando, Florida. We are streaming live from the Cerner recording studio on the HIMSS exhibit floor, where we're sharing unique and insightful perspectives from some of the brightest minds in healthcare. At Cerner, we are intent on becoming the partner of choice for innovation in healthcare. But innovation only happens through collaboration. We are at a place of immense opportunity and possibility in this industry, but our next chapter can only be as powerful as the collaborative relationships that we cultivate. Today, we're discussing the importance of using open standards to resolve business challenges. We are joined in the studio by Adam White with Cerner and our guest, Dr. Eric Arzubi, Department Chair of Psychiatric Services and Medical Director of ECHO Program at Billings Clinic, and Howard Follis, CEO and President at Juxly. Adam, Dr. Arzubi, and Howard, thank you both for joining us today.
Hey guys, it's the last day of HIMSS 2019. I'm glad to be sitting down. I don't know about you guys. As we kind of get started here, let's go ahead and give the audience a little bit of background about our organizations, and then we'll jump into the collaboration and what you guys have done from an open platforms perspective.
Sure. My name is Eric Arzubi. I'm chair of the Psychiatry Department at the Billings Clinic. And the Billings Clinic is a multi-specialty healthcare organization. It's the biggest healthcare organization in Montana, and we're also part of the Mayo Clinic network of care.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
And my name's Howard Follis. I'm a urologist by training. I'm also the CEO and president of Juxly. We build fire apps, and we've been involved in the Cerner development program for several years now, and really welcome and value that relationship.
Great. And this is Adam White. I'm going to be helping moderate the session today, and I've got business strategy and development responsibilities for our Cerner Open Developer Experience. So as we kind of get started today, I want you guys to talk a little bit about how you guys came about this partnership, how it happened. Also, Eric, what problems is Juxly solving, for the Billings Clinic with Smart on Fire and the use of open standards?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, I'm chair of the Psychiatry Department, and one of the big movements right now in mental health is rolling out integrated behavioral health and trying to do this in an efficient, effective way. It's a great model, but one of the biggest challenges around rolling out integrated behavioral health is the ability to use a patient registry, almost like a dashboard of sorts,
Sure.
where I can sort patients according to depression scores, last time they were visited, and sort of some other elements. The problem is there was no patient registry that spoke directly to an electronic health record. So we were going to have to do some double entry, and that's, as you can imagine, pretty inefficient. Number one. Number two, how many clinicians are willing to do that? So it really was a barrier to us rolling out a better and more robust mental health care service. So we were already clients of Juxly. I reached out to our CMIO and told him about our challenge, and he said, "Hey, why don't you guys talk to Juxly? I think these guys might be able to solve that sort of problem for you." And that's how we ran into Howard and been working together for over a year on this project.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So we, Juxly, had been involved with Billings Clinic with a couple of our fire apps, and you guys are actually customers of our apps, both Timeline and Vault. And so we had a great relationship with one of Cerner's good customers, Billings Clinic, and we grew to know each other through those two apps being deployed and getting to know each other. And actually, when I met Eric and he described the problem with integrated behavioral health, I knew that we could collaborate very nicely on a solution to that. So it was right in the wheelhouse of what we do for a living.
Yeah. And I was just going to say what's exciting is that while this is solving a problem for Billings Clinic, as I speak to other colleagues at other organizations, I'm understanding more that we're solving a problem for potentially many other clinicians and clinician groups who are trying to do integrated behavioral health more efficiently.
Sure, and that kind of leads to maybe the next question is, how are open standards, specifically the use of Smart on Fire, how has that enhanced this process and the ease of accessibility to actually going to create something that's becoming an actual use case and something that's come to fruition?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I mean,
Sure.
the open fire standards that have been embraced so tightly by Cerner in their open development program, actually for years, and they're certainly ahead of the other vendors in that area. It's really been transformational. So what you guys have done is you've taken the fire standard developed by HL7, and you've actually operationalized it. Built a developer community, an open developer community that's used and supported in building those apps. And so, quite honestly, as a practicing physician, and that's another thing that kind of drew Eric and I together, just the opportunity to have this functionality that we're describing literally inside of the Cerner Millennium EHR via the fire technology was just a really compelling part of the relationship, and the reason that we could all three get together and build a really cool fire app to help integrated behavioral health.
And what, and, the other thing to me, when I went to train in medicine, became a psychiatrist, I never thought I'd be thinking about some of these big picture issues. Sure. And really engaging with partners like Juxly, Cerner, and trying to solve some real world problems. So the fact that now, this sort of opens my mind to other possibilities and other potential issues, because there are lots of barriers that get in our way on an everyday basis on the front lines and trying to provide better and better care. So this is great because now we're able to solve one problem. I'm constantly thinking about what other problems are there out there that we can solve in using partnerships like this.
That's great. So Howard, I know you have a little bit of background of being a physician, Eric as well. How do you guys think the concept of open platforms is going to transform other physicians in the industry to kind of take problems that they're looking to solve and execute them into the workflow?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question, Adam. So, to be honest, you guys have been ahead on building the platform and enabling those kind of things to happen. We're so early in the whole fire schema that the rank and file physicians are not yet aware of the power and the strength of the fire interaction. And so the answer is, there are a lot of physicians walking around who, when they understand the power and the breadth of the possibilities here provided by basically your open environment, I think they're going to jump in with great ideas. And so, I've practiced 28 years, and I've heard people complain about their EHRs for years. This is a wonderful opportunity for them to step up and build that functionality or have someone build it for them. And I'll be honest, you guys have set the table. You're strong partners. I think it's one of the wisest things you've done is bring physicians into the tent and give them a chance to, within certain boundaries, to exercise some of their ideas and get those out into the world. I think it makes Cerner better, and I think it makes medicine better for those of us that practice.
Sure.
And it feels like, I think 5 years, first I feel very lucky to even be sitting at this table and thinking about these issues. It's incredibly exciting because it feels very much like we're at the very beginning of sort of this phase of how to solve clinical workflow problems and also data management problems in healthcare. And I don't know how you would solve these problems without frontline physicians being involved and trying to identify the problems and identify potential solutions. So I feel, 5 years from now, this is my first HIMSS conference, which is pretty exciting, and it's thanks to this opportunity. Sure. I think 5 years from now, these conversations are going to be happening all the time, and it's going to be just part of our daily practice, going, hey, what clinical problem is there right now that we can solve with one of these tools?
Sure.
It's going to be commonplace. I'd bet on that.
That's great. Through some of the communication with other physicians, do you guys think that there's going to be other physicians in this market who are going to be building apps, or do you think it's still a little bit too early on for us to see this type of an engagement at scale?
That's a little hard to answer. I don't have a pat answer, but I will tell you this. You've got some really innovative companies that are building cool apps, and they don't all need physician input, but many of them do. Whether it's within that company or whether it's within Cerner coaching them through it, I think there is at least an opportunity for physicians to step up and do it. I think your point is we are all very early in the fire experience. Even though Cerner has been way ahead, you're way ahead on kind of a bleeding edge technology, which is a wonderful complement to the forward-thinking nature of Cerner, but you're providing the opportunity for physicians to step up and do this, and I think they will. I think they will jump in and take advantage of this when they understand the breadth of the opportunity.
Great. What types of other innovations do you think will be most valuable for clinicians in coming years? I mean, I know, Howard, you've worked with several different use cases in the past, but how do you guys see healthcare taking off, and are there any niche types of healthcare focuses that you think will come to fruition?
Sure. I think my answer there is situated mostly around value-based medicine, which we all deal with, and it's kind of a buzzword, but the concept that we're going to be moving away from fee-for-service medicine to value-based medicine drives all of the population health efforts that have been out there, learning how to take care of patients more intelligently with less expense but better outcomes. I think the answer to your question is, as we move forward, value-based care is the imposing standard that we all need to work towards. And I know that Cerner is active in that area also, but there are going to be enormous opportunities as we move into value-based care for us to do interesting things together. So that's going to involve, by definition, it's going to involve the health plan layer, the hospital system layer, and the providers on the front lines. And when they're aligned financially and then they're aligned technologically, which is, I think, where Cerner can make the biggest impact, I think we can do some really amazing things with medicine in the next 5 years. It's an exciting time.
Sure.
And from mine, and keep in mind, so my lens is one of mental health, but I see a ton of potential at the interface of sort of mental health and physical health. There are lots of challenges, lots of problems we're trying to solve around this space. So, for example, think about the high utilizers of medical services. A lot of those folks are at the intersection of having mental health problems and physical health problems. Another thing is, I'm in Montana. Montana has consistently been among the worst 3 in terms of suicide rates for the last 40 years. One of the problems we're trying to tackle is, how do we get that suicide rate lower? Can I use data from the patients that are being admitted to both medical floors and psychiatric units to be able to predict who are those people who are going to be coming back with high suicide risk, and what can I do to get ahead of that? Again, population health. Population health has to include, let me take a step back. One of the things that's becoming more and more ubiquitous as we talk about these things are the social determinants of health. And the biggest chunk of the social determinants of health are your own health behaviors. So how can we have an impact on people's health behaviors, modify those, and then see the outcomes, but then being able to see those outcomes in an easy way that then allows us to actually press them, adjust the levers of healthcare to continue improving outcomes. So I think the possibilities are endless, and Howard and I have already discussed several other ideas that I think will advance our ability to care for patients more effectively.
Sure. So as we kind of wind down today, do you guys have any inspiring words or advice for the community, whether that's physicians, whether that's health systems, in regards to open standards, innovation? There's a lot of people out here that are keeping an eye on this space, and I think you two are great examples of ways that folks can collaborate and create application systems that are ultimately better for our patients and providers.
If you don't mind, Howard, I'm sorry to jump in, but 2 things I was thinking about. Number one is, we doctors were great at complaining about what's not working. So I'd love to challenge my fellow doctors out there to kind of think about some of the challenges we're facing and what are some of the solutions we can come up with. Because again, there are tools emerging where we can actually tackle some of these problems and have a broader impact beyond the day-to-day. And I think that can be a really big job satisfier.
Sure.
And then really taking these opportunities, thinking outside the box. And then I'm also asking leadership of healthcare organizations, give doctors the space to think about this, right? Because one of the things we face, all this time on EHR, seeing patients, let's give doctors the space to think about these problems, because I think doctors will be able to come up with some excellent solutions. And so I guess that's sort of an ask of leadership in the multiple healthcare organizations that might be listening in.
I agree with that, Eric. I think that's a very astute comment. And you and I have practiced a good while, and I'll speak for myself. I'm closer to the end of my career than the beginning, but you learn a lot about human nature, taking care of patients. And in response to Adam's question, giving doctors a chance to contribute where they will and be constructive. It needs to be constructive contribution, and you and I have both been in situations where maybe it hasn't, but they're giving us a great opportunity and a great platform to innovate. The fire standards didn't have to be embraced as tightly as they have been, but Cerner is all in on the open environment and the fire standards, and it shows. As a history, this company has done this for 3 or 4 years, at least that's been public facing. So we have the opportunity, and it's no longer enough to complain about it. It's time to jump in, use the platform, and build some cool stuff, because they build some really cool stuff, but we can build some cool stuff too, and it can all collaborate together. And that's what I think is really the beauty of the open fire environment, the fire standard, which has been a long time coming, and then companies that intelligently use that standard to make medicine better. So as I get, again, towards the end of my career, I hope that, one of the legacies that guys like us can leave is for the younger doctors to come along and have a more enjoyable practice, and their patients to benefit from that. So I'm excited about the future. I'm very optimistic, and haven't always been that way in my medical practice, honestly. But honestly, right here in the last few years, I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time. So I feel good about our prospects.
That's great. Well, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys both for joining and contributing. I know you guys are going to be working together to get this application live at the Billings Clinic over the next couple months. So we will look forward to that. And thank you guys again.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and thanks for the partnership.
All right.
Thank you.
We know.